They called her reckless. They called him cursed. But when two alphas make a deal that could destroy them both, the frontier will learn that sometimes the greatest power comes from breaking every rule. Will love rewrite the laws of survival, or will tradition crush them both? Stay until the end to find out, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. The council chamber stank of old leather and older grudges. Cale Thornridge stood at the head of the carved oak table, his shoulders rigid beneath a coat that had belonged to his father. Outside, snow hammered against the windows of Thornridge Hall, but inside, the air was thick with a different kind of cold, the calculated frost of men who smelled weakness. 2 months, Elder Corvin said, his voice like gravel scraping bone. That's all you have left, Cale. 30 years, unmated. You know the law. Cale's jaw tightened. He knew. Every alpha in the Northern Territories knew. 30 years without a mate, and your blood right dissolved like morning fog. Your lands, your pack, your name, all of it up for grabs. And there were plenty of hungry bastards circling his borders, waiting for midnight on his birthday like vultures over a dying elk. I'm aware of the deadline, Cale said. His voice came out level, controlled. Years of practice made it easy to hide the rage simmering beneath his ribs. Then you'll accept the Greymore proposal. Corvin leaned back, fingers steepled. Their daughter is young, fertile, properly trained. Trained like a show dog, Cale interrupted. I'm not interested in a breeding arrangement, Corvin. You don't have the luxury of interest. Another elder, Maddox, slapped a hand on the table. Your father held these lands for 40 years. You've had them for 6, and you're already losing ground. The Ravenclaw pack took the Eastern Ridge last month. The Silverbrook Wolves are pressing the southern border. If you don't secure an alliance, I'll handle the borders. With what army? Corvin's smile was all teeth, no warmth. Half your fighters have already pledged to other packs. The strong don't follow the weak, boy. And an unmated alpha is weak by definition. The word hung in the air like smoke. Weak. Cale had heard it whispered for months now. Ever since his patrols started coming back with fewer men, since supply lines began drying up, since the smaller packs that once paid tribute started testing his fences. He'd fought every inch of it, led hunts himself, negotiated deals, even personally gutted a Ravenclaw lieutenant who'd gotten too bold, but none of it mattered. Not without a mate. Not without the bond that proved to the world he was stable, rooted, worthy of holding territory. The curse saw to that. Not that anyone here knew about the curse. If they did, they wouldn't be offering him mates. They'd be measuring him for a shallow grave. I'll find my own solution, Cale said quietly. Corvin's laugh was dry as old bones. You have 2 months. The equinox gathering is in 3 days. Every unmated alpha in 5 territories will be there. If you don't come back with a bond agreement, this council will invoke emergency succession. Do you understand me? Cale understood. They'd strip him of everything and carve up Thornridge lands like a holiday feast. Corvin probably already had buyers lined up. I'll be there, he said, and turned on his heel before any of them could see the tremor in his hands. The hallway outside was colder than the chamber, but Cale welcomed it. He pressed his palm against the stone wall, steadying himself as a wave of dizziness rolled through him. His reflection stared back from a darkened window, still broad-shouldered, still commanding, but thinner than he'd been a year ago. Harder angles, shadows under eyes that used to gleam gold in the right light. Now they just looked tired. You're late for the ritual, a voice said behind him. Cale didn't turn. I'm not doing the ritual, Senna. His sister moved into view, arms crossed over a worn leather jacket. She had their mother's dark hair and their father's stubbornness, and right now both were pointed directly at him. You haven't done it in 3 weeks. That's why you look like death warmed over. I'm fine. You're a liar. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Cale, whatever you're hiding, I'm not hiding anything. He pushed off the wall, forcing his posture straight. I'm handling it. By shutting everyone out? By skipping the strengthening rituals? By... She grabbed his wrist, and he yanked it back fast enough that she flinched. Her eyes dropped to his hand where the skin had gone pale and papery, veins too visible beneath. Stars above, Cale. What's happening to you? Nothing I can't manage. He softened his tone, just slightly. I need you to trust me. I did trust you. Then you started falling apart. Senna's voice cracked. If you don't tell me what's wrong, I can't help. Kael met her eyes, so much like his own, or what his used to be, and felt something twist in his chest. She deserved better than this. They all did. But the truth would destroy them faster than the curse ever could. I'll fix it, he said. Just give me until the gathering. She searched his face for a long moment, then stepped back. Fine, but if you die on me, I'm resurrecting you just to kill you myself. Despite everything, Kael almost smiled. Noted, what? Mom just said. 3 territories away, Rowan Ashford stood in her own version of hell. The Ashford estate was nothing like Thornridge Hall. No stone and timber here, just open rangeland and sky that went on forever, broken only by the jagged peaks of the Ironback Mountains. But the council room felt just as suffocating. You're out of options, Rowan. Her uncle's voice carried across the room, and she hated how much he sounded like her father. Same gravel rough tone, same absolute certainty. The land tax is due in 2 months. We don't have it. We'll have it. Rowan didn't look up from the ledger in front of her, columns of numbers that refused to add up no matter how many times she ran them. I'm working on a deal with the Clearwater Pack. Clearwater won't deal with you, not after you turn down their son. Their son was a drunk and an idiot. He was an alliance! Her aunt slammed her hand on the table, making the inkpot jump. You're 28 years old, girl. 28. You have 2 years left to secure a mate bond, and you're burning bridges like they're kindling. Rowan finally looked up. Her aunt, Margot, was red-faced and furious. Her uncle Gareth looked more resigned than angry, which was somehow worse. Behind them, a half-dozen other Ashford blood relatives sat in judgment. Cousins, second cousins, people who'd never lifted a finger to help her run this territory, but had plenty of opinions about how she was failing. I'm not marrying someone just to check a box, Rowan said evenly. Then you'll lose everything your father built. Gareth leaned forward, his voice dropping. Rowan, listen to me. The Ashford bloodline has held this land for 6 generations. 6. Your father died defending it. Your mother gave her life bringing you into this world so you could carry it forward. Are you really going to throw that away because you're too proud to take a mate? The words hit harder than Rowan wanted to admit. She'd been 16 when her father fell in a border skirmish with the Blackstone Pack. She'd taken over leadership at 17, barely more than a child, and spent the last 11 years clawing to hold on to what he'd left her. Every season brought new challenges, droughts, raids, rival packs circling like sharks. She'd faced all of it with her teeth bared and her spine straight. But the law didn't care about her fight. It only cared about one thing, mate or lose everything. I'm going to the gathering, she said quietly. Margot's expression shifted from anger to something almost pitying. The gathering is political theater. Every unmated alpha in the territories shows up, sniffs around, makes promises they don't keep. You think you'll find someone there who actually values you? Someone who won't just see Ashford land and decide you're a convenient acquisition? I'll find someone. Rowan closed the ledger with more force than necessary. Or I'll figure out another way. There is no other way, Margot's voice cracked. The law is the law, Rowan. 30 years, unmated, and you lose your blood right. That's not negotiable. That's not something you can outthink or outfight. Rowan stood. The room fell silent. She might not be the biggest alpha in the territories. Most of the men had half a foot on her, but she'd learned early that presence wasn't about size. It was about force of will, and hers had been forged in fire. I've spent 11 years holding this land, she said, her voice low and hard. 11 years keeping Ashford territory intact while everyone around me said I was too young, too female, too unbonded to lead. I fought off the Blackstone Pack 3 times. I negotiated water rights with the Greymoor Alliance when they tried to strangle us out. I personally tracked and killed the rogue that murdered 6 of our people last winter. So don't stand there and tell me I don't understand what's at stake. She let the silence stretch, then continued. I'll go to the gathering. I'll find a solution. And if I don't, she met each of their eyes in turn. Then you can bury me next to my father. But I won't sell myself to the highest bidder just to make your lives easier. She walked out before any of them could respond. The night air hit her like a cold slap, sharp and clean after the stale tension of the council room. Rowan crossed the yard to the paddock where her horse, Smoke, waited. The big gray stallion nickered softly as she approached, and she pressed her forehead against his neck, breathing in the familiar scent of hay and horse and freedom. "Just you and me, boy," she murmured, "like always." "Not quite always," a voice said from the shadows. Rowan spun, hand dropping to the knife at her belt. Then she relaxed, barely. "Finn, what are you doing out here?" Her cousin stepped into the moonlight, lanky and sharp-featured, too smart for his own good most days. He'd been her father's favorite nephew, and after the old man died, Finn had appointed himself Rowan's unofficial advisor. Sometimes she appreciated it, sometimes she wanted to throttle him. "Making sure you don't do anything stupid," Finn said, "like, say, challenging the entire council to a duel." "I didn't challenge anyone." "No, you just told them you'd rather die than compromise." Very subtle. He leaned against the fence, studying her. "You're really going to the gathering? You have a better idea?" "Actually, yes." Finn pulled a folded paper from his coat. "The Riverdale Pack is looking for an alliance. Their alpha just died, and his widow is willing to negotiate a temporary bond agreement. 1 year, no consummation requirement, just a legal contract to satisfy the blood right law. After that, you both walk away." Rowan took the paper, scanning it. The terms were surprisingly reasonable, almost too reasonable. "What's the catch?" "The catch is she's 83 and dying. She needs someone to hold Riverdale territory until her grandson comes of age. You'd be a placeholder." "A placeholder?" Rowan handed the paper back. "That's what you think I should settle for? Being someone's temporary solution?" "I think you should survive." Finn's voice hardened. "You want to talk about pride, fine, but pride won't feed the pack when the Blackstone Wolves take our land. It won't protect the families who followed your bloodline for 6 generations. It won't—" "Don't." Rowan's hand shot up. "Don't make this about them. I've bled for them. I've killed for them. I'm trying to save them." "Then try smarter." Finn stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Rowan, you're one of the best alphas I've ever seen. You're smart. You're strong. You lead from the front. But the law doesn't care about any of that. It cares about one thing, and you're running out of time to give it what it wants." She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, that there was another way, that she could fight this like she'd fought everything else. But the numbers in that ledger flashed through her mind. The tax due in 2 months, the fighters they'd lost last season, the rival packs circling closer every day, and the calendar, counting down to her 30th birthday like a death sentence. "I'll think about it," she said finally. Finn nodded, looking relieved. "That's all I'm asking. Just think." He left her alone with Smoke and the stars, and Rowan pressed her face against the horse's mane, letting the tears come where no one could see. The Equinox gathering was held at Blackwood Crossing, a neutral territory that belonged to no pack and everyone. Once a year, alphas from across the Northern Territories gathered here to negotiate, trade, and, if they were desperate enough, find mates. Kale hated it on sight. The main lodge was packed with bodies, noise, and the overwhelming scent of too many alphas in one space. Unmated males prowled the edges, sizing each other up. Unmated females moved in tight clusters, guarded by family or allies. And everywhere, the mated pairs preened and postured, their bonds visible in the way they moved together, the casual touches, the smug certainty that they belonged. Kyle had come alone. Senna had wanted to accompany him, but he'd refused. Bad enough he had to parade himself like livestock. He didn't need his sister watching him do it. He'd been here 3 hours and already fielded 6 proposals, none of them worth the breath it took to decline. The Graymore daughter was exactly as Corvin described, young, pretty, and vapid as a decorative vase. A Silverbrook cousin offered herself with all the warmth of a business transaction. An unaffiliated alpha from the Eastern Ranges tried to negotiate a bond in exchange for military support, which might have been tempting if Kyle had any intention of starting a war. He was contemplating leaving early when he felt it. A shift in the room's energy, subtle but unmistakable, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. Kyle turned toward the entrance and saw her. She wasn't the most beautiful woman in the room, wasn't dressed in silks or jewels like some of the others, just worn leather and practical boots, dark hair pulled back in a braid that had started coming loose. But every alpha in the vicinity tracked her movement like wolves scenting blood, because she moved like a leader, not the careful political glide of someone playing the game, not the exaggerated swagger of an alpha trying to prove something, just the easy, predatory grace of someone who'd earned every inch of ground she stood on and wasn't apologizing for it. Kyle watched her cut through the crowd, watched men twice her size step aside without realizing they were doing it, watched her scan the room with eyes that missed nothing. And then those eyes locked on his. The impact was physical, like touching a live wire. For half a second, the world narrowed to just the two of them, and Kyle felt something stir in his chest that had nothing to do with politics or blood rights or curses. Then someone bumped into her from behind, breaking the moment. Kyle exhaled slowly, pulling his focus back. Dangerous. That was dangerous. He didn't have time for distractions, and something told him she was the most dangerous distraction in the room. He turned away, heading for the balcony and fresh air, but he could still feel her eyes on him, even after he left. Rowan watched the tall alpha disappear through the balcony doors and felt her heart kick against her ribs. She'd seen him the moment she entered. Hard not to. He stood head and shoulders above most of the room, and even slouching against a pillar, he commanded space like gravity. Dark hair, darker eyes, and a face that would have been handsome if it wasn't so carefully blank. Cale Thornridge. She knew the name. Everyone did. The youngest alpha to ever hold Thornridge territory, son of a legend, and according to rumor, currently circling the drain. His council wanted him mated within 2 months, or they'd vote him out. Same deadline as hers, same desperation. "You're staring," Finn murmured beside her. Rowan tore her gaze away. "I'm observing. You're staring like a wolf at a wounded deer." Her cousin's eyes gleamed with interest. "Thornridge, huh? Ambitious." "I'm not—" She cut herself off. Was she? She'd come here with no plan beyond find someone, anyone, and now her brain was spinning possibilities like a mill wheel. Thornridge was powerful. Declining, sure, but still one of the largest territories in the north. An alliance there would solve half her problems, if she could get him to agree, if she could trust him not to absorb Ashford lands the moment the ink dried, if she could stand being bonded to someone who looked at the world like it owed him answers. "Forget it," she said. "He's probably got a dozen offers already. So make yours the one he can't refuse." Finn nudged her. "You're good at that." Before Rowan could respond, a hand clamped on her shoulder. She turned, already knowing who it was from the grip alone. Marcus Graymore, second son, first-class bastard, and the man her council wanted her to marry. "Rowan," he said, his smile all teeth. "Surprised to see you here." "Why's that, Marcus?" "Figured you'd given up on finding a mate. Heard you turned down my cousin, and the Clearwater boy. And I remember who I turned down." She stepped back, forcing his hand to drop. "Was there something you needed, or are you just cataloging my rejections for fun?" His smile didn't waver, but his eyes went cold. "Careful, Ashford. You're running out of time to be picky." "I'm not picky. I'm selective." "You're desperate." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "Everyone here knows it. You've got 2 years left and your territory is bleeding fighters. How long before someone just takes what you can't hold?" Rowan felt her pulse spike, but she kept her expression neutral. "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." Marcus straightened. "But, hey, if you change your mind about my cousin, let me know. We're feeling generous." He walked away before she could respond, leaving Rowan shaking with fury. "I'm going to kill him," she said quietly. "Get in line," Finn muttered, "but maybe focus on the bigger problem first?" The bigger problem. Right. She had 2 months to secure a bond or lose everything, and standing here steaming about Marcus Graymore wasn't solving anything. Rowan scanned the room one more time, looking for— she wasn't sure what. An option. A sign. Anything that didn't feel like swallowing glass. Her gaze drifted back to the balcony doors. "Don't," Finn said. "I wasn't—" "Yes, you were." He caught her arm. Rowan, Thornridge is in the same boat you are. Unmated, running out of time, counsel breathing down his neck. If you approach him, it'll look like desperation meeting desperation. Not exactly a power move. What else do I have? Finn didn't answer, because they both knew the truth. She didn't have anything else, just her pride, her anger, and 2 months to figure out how to save everything her father died for. She pulled free of Finn's grip and headed for the balcony. Kyle leaned against the railing, watching snow fall over Blackwood Crossing. The cold helped. It always did, sharpened his focus, quieted the noise in his head. Out here, he could almost forget the curse gnawing at his bones, the council waiting to tear him apart, the impossible choice between pride and survival. Almost. Running away from the party already? He didn't turn. Didn't realize I was being followed. You're not. The woman stepped up beside him, close enough that he caught her scent. Leather, pine, and something sharper, like ozone before a lightning strike. I just needed air that didn't smell like desperation. Despite himself, Kyle's mouth twitched. Find any? Not yet. She turned to face him, and this close, her eyes were even more unsettling, pale gray, almost silver, and way too sharp. You're Cale Thornridge. And you're Rowan Ashford. He'd figured it out the moment she walked in. The way she carried herself, the way others reacted to her. She wasn't just any alpha. She was the Ashford alpha, the one who'd held her territory together through sheer force of will while everyone predicted she'd fail. Didn't think my reputation traveled that far north, she said. It doesn't. I make it my business to know who's worth knowing. And I made the list? She sounded genuinely curious. I'm flattered. Don't be. It's a short list. She laughed, a real laugh, not the political chuckle he'd been hearing all night. It transformed her face, made her look younger, less guarded. You always this charming, Thornridge? Only when cornered. Kale turned to face her properly. What do you want, Ashford? Same thing you do, I'm guessing. A way out of this mess that doesn't involve marrying someone I can't stand. Direct. He appreciated that. And you think I'm that way out? I think we might be able to help each other. She crossed her arms, meeting his eyes. You need a mate to satisfy your counsel. I need one to keep my territory. Neither of us wants a real bond. So why not make it simple? A political arrangement, temporary if you want, just enough to shut everyone up and buy us time. Kyle studied her. She was serious, completely serious. And it was a terrible idea, also possibly his only option. What's in it for you? He asked. You could make this deal with anyone here. Why me? Because everyone else would try to absorb Ashford territory the second we bonded. You're strong enough that you don't need to. She held his gaze. And because you look like you understand that sometimes survival means making deals you don't love. She wasn't wrong, but she also wasn't right, not about him being strong. If she knew the truth, she'd run. They all would. I'll think about it, he said. Don't think too long. We've both got deadlines. She pushed off the railing, heading back toward the door. Then she paused. For what it's worth, Thornridge, you're the first person in there who didn't look at me like I was livestock. That counts for something. She left before he could respond. Kyle stood alone on the balcony, snow collecting on his shoulders, and felt the curse twist in his chest like a knife. 2 months. That's all he had left. And Rowan Ashford might have just offered him a lifeline, or a noose. He wasn't sure which terrified him more. Kale didn't sleep that night. He sat in his rented room at the lodge, watching the fire burn down to embers, while Rowan Ashford's proposition circled his mind like a vulture. A political bond. Temporary. Clean. It should have been perfect, exactly what he needed to shut the council up and buy himself time to figure out the curse. Except it wasn't clean. Nothing involving another alpha ever was. And the curse didn't care about political arrangements. He pressed his palm against his chest, feeling the wrongness there. It had started small 3 years ago, just fatigue, the occasional tremor. Easy to dismiss as stress. But it had grown like rot in timber, spreading through him until some mornings he could barely drag himself out of bed. The healers couldn't explain it. The rituals didn't touch it. And when he'd finally broken down and consulted a rogue witch in the eastern wastes, she'd given him the answer he'd been dreading. Blood curse. Ancient. unbreakable. Unless you find your true mate before you turn 30, she'd said, cackling like it was the world's cruelest joke. And even then, boy, the bond has to be real. Not some political theater. Real love, real choice, real sacrifice. Otherwise, you're dead the moment that clock strikes midnight on your birthday. 2 months, 60 days. And he'd spent them all searching for something he didn't believe existed. A knock rattled the door. Cale stood, hand dropping to the knife at his belt. Who is it? Someone who doesn't sleep well in strange places either. He opened the door. Rowan stood there, still in her leather coat but with her hair down now, falling past her shoulders in dark waves. She looked tired. Real tired, not the political exhaustion everyone wore like armor. Couldn't stay away? Kyle asked. Don't flatter yourself. She pushed past him into the room, uninvited. I've been thinking about your hesitation. I didn't hesitate. You said you'd think about it. That's hesitation dressed up in polite language. She turned to face him. So what's the problem? You don't trust me? I don't trust anyone. Smart. Neither do I. She crossed her arms. But trust isn't necessary for a business arrangement. We both need something. We both have something to offer. That's enough. Kyle shut the door. You don't know what you're offering. A bond, political cover, alliance between two territories. She ticked them off on her fingers. Unless you're hiding something that would make that complicated? The curse twisted in his chest like a living thing. He kept his face neutral. Everyone's hiding something, Ashford. True, but most people's secrets don't make them look like they're about to pass out in the middle of a conversation. She stepped closer, those silver eyes too sharp, too knowing. You're sick, or injured, or cursed. I don't care which, but I'm not stupid enough to walk into a bond blind. For a moment, Cale considered telling her, just laying it all out, the curse, the deadline, the slow death eating him from the inside. But the look on her face stopped him. She was desperate, yeah, but she was also proud. The kind of proud that wouldn't chain herself to a dying man, no matter how good the political cover. I'm handling it, he said. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. He moved to the window, putting space between them. You want a bond? Fine. But it's on my terms. 1 year, no consummation requirement, purely political. After that, we reassess. If either of us wants out, we walk away clean. 1 year isn't enough. I need 2 minimum to... 1 year? Kyle interrupted. Or find someone else. She glared at him. He could see the calculation happening behind her eyes, weighing options, measuring risks, deciding if he was worth the gamble. 6 months to formalize the agreement, she said finally. Then we evaluate. If it's working, we extend to 2 years. If not, we dissolve it quietly. Fine. And I want access to your council meetings. No decisions about border policy without my input. Only if I get the same with yours. Deal. She stuck out her hand. We do this proper. Witness bond at the gathering tomorrow night. Public enough that both our councils can't weasel out of it. Cale looked at her hand. Small, scarred across the knuckles, steady as stone. If he took it, he was committing to a lie that might kill them both. If he didn't, he lost everything in 2 months anyway. He gripped her hand. Her skin was warmer than he expected. Tomorrow night, he said. She nodded and left without another word. Kyle stood alone in the room and wondered which of them had just made the bigger mistake. Bam. The news spread through Blackwood Crossing like wildfire. By morning, everyone knew. Cale Thornridge and Rowan Ashford, 2 of the most stubborn, uncompromising alphas in the territories, were bonding. The gossip ran wild. Some called it brilliant strategy. Others called it desperation. A few called it suicide. Rowan didn't care what they called it. She had bigger problems. You did what? Ben's voice cracked like a whip across the breakfast table. I made a deal. Rowan didn't look up from her plate. The food tasted like ash, but she forced herself to eat. Long day ahead. With Thornridge. Her cousin looked like he was trying to swallow a live frog. Rowan, we talked about this. We had options. The Riverdale arrangement was a placeholder position with an 80-year-old woman. Rowan set down her fork. Thornridge's real power, real alliance, Real chance to actually hold our territory instead of just limping through another year. He's dying. The word hung in the air like smoke. Rowan met Finn's eyes. What? I asked around last night, talked to some of his people. Finn leaned forward, dropping his voice. Thornridge is sick, has been for months. His own council thinks he's got maybe a year left, and that's if he's lucky. You're bonding yourself to a corpse, Rowan. Her stomach twisted. He didn't mention that. Of course he didn't, because if you knew, you'd run. Finn grabbed her wrist. It's not too late. Call it off. Say you reconsidered. Find literally anyone else. Rowan pulled free. I gave my word. Your word to a liar. My word to an alpha who's desperate enough to hide his weakness, same as me. She stood. The bond happens tonight. You can support it or stay out of my way, but either way, it's happening. She left before he could argue more. Outside, the gathering was in full chaos. Word of the bond had turned the whole thing into a spectacle. Alphas who'd ignored her yesterday now wanted meetings. Rivals who'd been circling Ashford territory suddenly backed off, and everywhere she went, people stared. Rowan kept her head up and her expression blank, but inside, Finn's words echoed like a death knell. He's dying. She should walk away, should find someone else, should... Ashford. She turned. Marcus Greymore stood behind her, flanked by two of his cousins. His smile was all sharp edges. Heard the news, Kiss, he said. Congratulations, or condolences. Hard to tell which is appropriate. Say what you came to say, Marcus. Just wondering if you've thought this through. He stepped closer. Thornridge is a dead man walking. Everyone knows it, so either you're stupider than I thought, or you're planning to absorb his territory the moment he drops. Which is it? Rowan felt her hands curl into fists. Neither. Then you're a fool. Marcus's smile vanished. You had a chance to align with real power, with families that aren't falling apart. Instead, you picked the weakest alpha at the gathering and called it strategy. Your father would be ashamed. The words hit like a physical blow. Rowan stepped forward, closing the distance until they were inches apart. My father taught me that strength isn't about who you align with. It's about who you are when everything's falling apart. So yeah, I picked Thornridge because he's still standing when everyone says he should be dead. And that's more strength than you'll ever have. She walked away before Marcus could respond, her heart hammering against her ribs. But his words stayed with her. Your father would be ashamed. The bonding ceremony was set for sunset. Kael spent the day preparing, not for the ritual itself, but for what came after. He met with his council, endured their congratulations and thinly veiled suspicions, and signed documents that formalized the alliance. Senna cornered him twice, demanding to know what he was thinking. He deflected both times. By the time the sun started dropping toward the horizon, he was exhausted. The ritual ground was an open clearing at the edge of Blackwood Crossing, ringed with standing stones older than anyone could remember. Traditionally, bonds were private affairs, just the two alphas and a witness. But Rowan had been right. This needed to be public, needed to be witnessed by enough people that their councils couldn't dispute it later, which meant half the gathering showed up to watch. Kael stood at the center of the stones, watching the crowd gather. He spotted Corvin in the front row, looking smug, probably already planning how to leverage this alliance. Behind him, other Thornridge Council members clustered together, whispering. On the opposite side, Rowan's people looked less pleased. Her cousin, Finn, Kael remembered, stood with his arms crossed and his expression carved from granite. Next to him, an older woman who must be her aunt kept shaking her head. And then Rowan arrived. She'd changed clothes, traded her usual leather for something more formal. Dark blue tunic, silver clasps, hair braided with thread that caught the dying light. She looked like a warrior preparing for battle. Their eyes met across the clearing. For a moment, Kael saw something flicker in her expression. Doubt, maybe. Or fear. Then it was gone, replaced by that iron resolve he was starting to recognize. She crossed to him, stopping just outside the stone circle. Last chance to run, she said quietly. Same to you. I don't run. Neither do I. She nodded, then stepped into the circle with him. The ritual itself was older than the territories, older than the packs, maybe older than the alphas themselves. No one remembered who'd created it or why, but every bonded pair knew the words. An elder stepped forward, neutral party, someone neither of them knew. She carried a ceremonial blade, its edge sharp enough to split moonlight. "You come freely?" she asked. "Yes," KL and Rowan said together. "You understand the bond cannot be broken without consent of both parties?" "Yes." "Then offer your blood and let the bond be witnessed." The elder handed KL the blade. He turned to Rowan, meeting her eyes. This was it. Last chance to back out. Last chance to... He cut his palm, quick and clean. Blood welled up, dark in the fading light. Rowan took the blade without hesitation, cut her own palm, held it up. They clasped hands, blood mixing, and Kael felt something shift in the air around them. Not magic, exactly. More like recognition. Two separate forces suddenly acknowledging each other, circling, testing. The elder began to chant. Old words, older than language, syllables that resonated in the bones. The crowd went silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Kael felt the bond forming, a thread of connection spinning between him and Rowan, thin as spider silk but growing stronger with each word the elder spoke. It didn't feel invasive, didn't feel wrong, just present, like suddenly being aware of a heartbeat that wasn't his own. Rowan's eyes widened. She felt it too. The curse inside KL stirred. For the first time in months, it didn't hurt. It just waited. The elder's chant built to a crescendo, then stopped. "The bond is made," she said, "witnessed and sealed. You are alpha bonded, in blood and oath, until dissolution or death." The crowd erupted. Some cheering, some muttering, everyone talking at once. But KL barely heard them, because the bond was singing, humming through him like electricity, and with it came sensation, Rowan's heartbeat, her breath, the iron control she was maintaining over her expression, while inside she was spiraling through the same confusion he felt. This wasn't supposed to happen. Political bonds were supposed to be cold, transactional, barely there connections that satisfied the law but didn't touch anything deeper. This was anything but cold. Rowan pulled her hand free first, breaking eye contact. There's a feast, traditional." "Right." Kale's voice came out rougher than intended. "Lead the way." They walked together through the crowd, and Kael felt every eye on them, felt the weight of expectation and judgment and speculation. But worse than that, he felt her. Her presence at his side like a second shadow, her emotions bleeding through the bond whether she wanted them to or not. Fear, determination, and underneath it all, a current of attraction she was working very hard to ignore. Stars above. What had they just done? The feast was torture. Rowan sat at the high table next to Kael, forcing herself to eat, to smile, to accept congratulations from people she didn't trust. The bond hummed between them like a live wire, impossible to ignore. Every time Kael moved, she felt it. Every time his mood shifted, it rippled through her. And the worst part? He felt too much like home. She'd expected the bond to be uncomfortable, alien, a foreign presence she'd have to adjust to. Instead, it settled into her bones like something that had always been there, just waiting for the right key to unlock it. That terrified her more than anything. "You're not eating," Kael murmured beside her. "Neither are you. I asked first." Despite herself, Rowan almost smiled. "How are you this annoying already?" "Natural talent." He took a drink, and through the bond, she felt the burn of alcohol in his throat. "For what it's worth, I didn't expect..." "This?" She gestured vaguely between them. "Yeah, me neither." "We should talk. After. Somewhere private. Your room or mine?" The words came out more suggestive than she'd intended. Kael's eyebrow rose, and through the bond she felt a flicker of heat that made her stomach flip. "Neutral ground," he said. "The library. 1 hour." Rowan nodded, not trusting her voice. The hour crawled by. She endured toasts, dances, and a deeply uncomfortable conversation with her aunt about consummation traditions. Finally, she escaped. The library was empty when she arrived. Small mercy. She paced between the shelves, trying to settle her nerves, trying to ignore the bond pulling her toward the door, like a compass finding north. Kyle arrived exactly on time. He shut the door behind him, and suddenly the room felt very small. "So," he said. "So." They stared at each other for a long moment. "This wasn't supposed to happen," Rowan said finally. "Political bonds they're not supposed to feel like anything." "No, they're not." Kyle moved closer, and she felt his approach through the bond before she saw it. "Which means either we did the ritual wrong or what?" He stopped a few feet away, close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tightness around his mouth. "Or the bond recognized something we didn't. That's not possible. We barely know each other." "I know." His hand came up, hovering near her face but not quite touching. "But I can feel you. Right now. Your fear, your anger, that thing you're not naming that's making your heart race. Stop. I can't. Neither can you." His voice dropped. "That's the problem with real bonds, Ashford. They don't care about our plans." Rowan stepped back, putting space between them. It's new, unfamiliar. It'll settle." "Will it?" Cale's expression was unreadable. "Or will it get stronger?" She didn't have an answer for that. The door burst open. Finn stood there, face pale. "We have a problem." Rowan's stomach dropped. "What kind of problem?" "The kind where Marcus Graymore just called formal challenge against the bond. He's claiming it's fraudulent, that you coerced Thornridge, and he's demanding dissolution or trial by combat." The room went very quiet. Kyle spoke first. "He can't do that. The bond was witnessed. He's claiming political coercion, says you pressured her into it to save your territory." Finn looked at Rowan, and he's got 3 other alphas backing him. "If they push this to the regional council, we'll both lose everything," Rowan finished. "The bond, the territories, all of it." Cale's jaw tightened. Through the bond, Rowan felt his rage building, cold and controlled, but absolute. "When?" "Tomorrow morning. He's calling an emergency session." Finn stepped further into the room. "Rowan, you have to answer this. If you don't, it looks like an admission of guilt." "Then I'll answer it." She turned to Kyle. "Both of us will." "Together," he agreed. But through the bond, Rowan felt something else stirring in him, something darker than anger. And when he met her eyes, she saw it clearly for the first time. He was dying. Finn had been right, and whatever was killing him had just gotten a whole lot worse. Rowan felt it through the bond, a spike of pain so sharp it stole her breath. Cale's face went blank, that careful mask he wore slipping for just a second before he locked it back down. But she'd seen enough. "Out," she told Finn. Her cousin blinked. "What?" "Out. Now. Both of you." She kept her eyes on Kyle. "I need to talk to my husband alone." The word felt strange on her tongue. Foreign, but legally accurate as of 20 minutes ago. Finn hesitated, then nodded. "I'll stall Marcus as long as I can. But Rowan, you've got until morning. That's it." He left. The door clicked shut. Cale straightened, pulling that impenetrable control back over himself like armor. "We should focus on the challenge. Marcus is going to, sit down before you fall down." "I'm fine." "You're a liar." Rowan crossed to him, and through the bond she felt his defenses slam up, trying to wall her out. Didn't matter. She could still taste the edges of his pain, sharp and metallic. "How long have you been dying?" His jaw worked. "I don't know what you're—" 3 years, she said quietly. "That's my guess. 3 years of hiding it, pushing through, pretending you're fine while whatever's eating you gets worse." She stepped closer. "And tonight, bonding with me, you thought maybe it would help. Maybe the bond would do something the healers couldn't." Kale's expression cracked, just slightly. "Get out of my head, Ashford." "It's not in your head. It's written all over your face." She caught his wrist, felt his pulse hammering too fast. "Tell me I'm wrong." He pulled free, turned away. For a long moment, he just stood there, shoulders rigid, breathing carefully controlled. Then, "It's a blood curse." The words dropped into the silence like stones into deep water. Rowan waited. I don't know where it came from, Cale continued, his voice flat. Don't know who cast it or why. 3 years ago, I started getting weak, tired, thought it was stress. Then it got worse. Healers couldn't explain it. Rituals didn't touch it. I finally tracked down a witch in the eastern wastes who told me what I already knew. He turned to face her. I'm dying, slowly, and the only thing that might break it is a true mate bond formed before I turned 30. 2 months, Rowan said. 58 days. She felt something cold settle in her stomach. And you thought, what? That bonding with me might count? I thought it was worth trying. His eyes were hollow. I thought maybe if the ritual was strong enough, real enough, it might trick the curse into breaking. Obviously, I was wrong. Obviously. Rowan's hands curled into fists. So let me get this straight. You walked into a bond with me knowing you were cursed, knowing you had 2 months to live, knowing that when you die, any territory bonded to you gets thrown into chaos. Her voice rose. Did you think about what that would do to my people? To Ashford lands when your council starts carving up the remains? I thought about it. Cale's voice went hard. I thought about it every day for 3 years. Thought about my people, my territory, my sister. Thought about all of it falling apart because I couldn't fix something I didn't break. He stepped closer. And yeah, I thought about you. Thought about how desperate you had to be to approach me on that balcony. How you'd make this deal even knowing it might blow up in your face. I didn't know you were dying. Would it have changed anything? The question hit harder than it should have. Rowan wanted to say yes. Wanted to say she'd have walked away, found someone else, done literally anything other than chain herself to a man with a death sentence hanging over his head. But through the bond, she felt the truth rising up like water through cracks in stone. She probably would have made the deal anyway, because she was that desperate, that cornered, that out of options. Damn you, she whispered. Already done. Cale's mouth twisted into something that wasn't quite a smile. Look, I'm sorry. I should have told you before the ritual, should have given you a choice, but I didn't, and now we're both stuck with it. He moved toward the door. Get some rest. We'll deal with Marcus in the morning, and after that what? Oh, Rowan blocked his path. You think we're just going to pretend this didn't happen? Pretend you're not dying and I'm not bonded to a curse? What else do you want me to say? His control finally cracked, voice rising. I'm sorry I'm dying. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. I'm sorry the bond is real when it should have been fake. He stopped, breathing hard. I'm sorry, Rowan, for all of it. But sorry doesn't fix anything. Through the bond, she felt his rage and his terror, and underneath it all, something that tasted like grief. Not for himself, for her. For what he'd done to her. She should have been angrier, should have been screaming, breaking things, demanding dissolution. Instead, she just felt tired. The witch, she said. Where is she? Kyle blinked. What? The witch who told you about the curse. Where is she? Eastern Wastes, 3 days' ride. His eyes narrowed. Why? Because if she could diagnose it, maybe she can break it. I already asked. She said maybe a true mate bond would work. Maybe. Rowan stepped closer. That's not the same as saying it won't. And right now, maybe is all we've got. We don't have time. The challenge is tomorrow. And Marcus can wait. She grabbed his arm. Kyle, listen to me. You bonded us. Real or fake, political or not, we're tied together now. Which means your death becomes my problem. So either we try to fix this, or we both go down when you do. He stared at her. You want to help me. I want to survive. There's a difference. She let go. We leave tonight. Deal with the witch. Come back in time for the challenge with either a solution or a plan. But we're not sitting here waiting for you to die. Rowan, unless you'd rather dissolve the bond right now? She held his gaze. Walk away. Let both our territories fall. Let Marcus and the rest of them pick over the remains. Is that what you want? Cale's expression shifted. Through the bond, she felt him weighing it. The temptation to just let go, stop fighting, Stop pretending he could fix the unfixable. Then something hardened in his eyes. No, he said. That's not what I want. Good. Rowan headed for the door. Pack light. We ride in an hour. A sec. They left Blackwood Crossing under cover of darkness. Rowan told Finn they were scouting the eastern border, gave him instructions to stall Marcus, and swore him to secrecy. He didn't believe a word of it, but he didn't argue either, just gripped her shoulder and said, "Don't do anything stupid." Too late for that. Kyle brought 2 horses and minimal supplies. No guards, no attendants, nothing that would draw attention. Just 2 alphas riding into the night like they had any idea what they were doing. The bond hummed between them, a constant presence Rowan was learning to navigate. It was like having a second heartbeat in her chest, a foreign rhythm that somehow matched her own. Every time Kyle's pain flared, she felt it. Every time doubt crept into his thoughts, it bled into hers. And underneath it all, that pull. That magnetic draw that had nothing to do with curses or politics, and everything to do with something she wasn't ready to name. They rode hard for 3 hours before Kyle called a halt. The landscape had shifted from forest to scrubland, all twisted brush and rocky outcrops. Rowan's thighs ached from the saddle, but she didn't complain. "We should rest," Kyle said, dismounting. "The horses need it, even if we don't." Rowan slid off her own mount, legs protesting. "How much further?" 2 more days at this pace, maybe less if we push. He started unpacking their gear, movements efficient despite the tremor she could see in his hands. "We'll camp here. Move again at first light." They set up in silence. No fire. Too risky. Just bedrolls and the stars overhead, cold and indifferent. Rowan settled against a rock, watching Kyle move through the camp. He was trying to hide it, but she could feel the exhaustion dragging at him through the bond, the curse gnawing deeper with each passing hour. "You should sleep," she said. "So should you." "I asked first." He almost smiled. "You know that doesn't work on me anymore, right? I can feel when you're lying." Rowan's breath caught. The bond. Of course, she could feel his pain, which meant he could feel everything she was trying to hide. The fear, the anger, the growing certainty that this plan was going to get them both killed. "That's going to get annoying fast," she muttered. "Already is." Kale sat down across from her, close enough that the bond settled slightly, like 2 magnets finding equilibrium. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About all of it. You already apologized. I meant it the first time, still mean it now." He rubbed his face. "I never wanted to drag anyone else into this. The plan was to die quietly, let the council pick a successor, move on. But then you showed up on that balcony looking like you'd fight the entire world barehanded if you had to. And I thought..." "Thought what?" "That maybe I wasn't ready to die yet." His voice dropped. "That maybe if I had something worth fighting for besides my own pride, I could find a way out." Rowan's throat tightened. Through the bond, she felt the truth of it, raw and unguarded. He wasn't lying, wasn't manipulating, just telling her the thing he'd been too afraid to say out loud. "You're an idiot," she said quietly. "I know. And this plan is probably going to get us both killed. Probably. But we're doing it anyway." "Yeah." Kale met her eyes. "We are." Something passed between them then. Not words, not even emotion, just recognition. 2 people too stubborn to quit, even when quitting was the smart choice. Rowan shifted closer, closing the distance until they were sitting side by side. The bond hummed approval, settling into something that felt almost comfortable. "Tell me about the witch." "What do you want to know?" "Everything. How you found her, what she said, what she didn't say." Kyle sighed. "She lives in a cave system in the eastern wastes. Took me 3 weeks to track her down. When I finally did, she laughed in my face. Charming. She's insane. Or pretends to be. Hard to tell the difference." He leaned back against the rock. "But she knew things. Saw the curse without me telling her. Drew it in the dirt. Some kind of spiral pattern. All interconnected. Said it was old magic, the kind that doesn't break easy. But it can break? With the right conditions, true mate bond, real love, sacrifice." His mouth twisted. All the things you can't fake or force. Rowan absorbed that. And she didn't say what would happen if you tried to fake it. She said the curse would know, would feed on the lie and get stronger. Kale's voice went rough. I thought our bond was political enough that it wouldn't register. Thought I could slip through on a technicality. Instead, it became real. He turned to look at her. I felt it happen, Rowan, during the ritual. Something shifted. The curse recognized the bond, and I don't know. It's like it's waiting now, watching, trying to figure out if we're real or not. A chill ran down Rowan's spine. And if it decides we're not, then I die faster. And you... He stopped. What? The witch said bonding to someone cursed can spread the taint. Not always, but sometimes, if the bond is strong enough. Kale's expression went bleak. I might have killed you too, Rowan, just by letting you tie yourself to me. She should have been terrified. Should have dissolved the bond right there, run back to Blackwood Crossing, found literally anyone else. Instead, she felt something stubborn settle in her chest. Then we'd better make sure this works, she said. They reached the eastern wastes on the third day, both of them exhausted and running on fumes. The landscape here was brutal, all jagged rock and dead earth, like something had burned the life out of it centuries ago and nothing had grown back. Wind howled through the canyons, carrying voices that might have been real or might have been tricks of the air. Cheerful place, Rowan muttered. Wait until you meet the witch. Kale dismounted, scanning the rocky walls. She moves around, never camps in the same place twice. But there are signs if you know what to look for. He pointed to a series of marks carved into the stone, symbols that looked like writing but weren't any language Rowan recognized. There. She's close. They followed the marks deeper into the canyon system, leaving the horses tied at the entrance. The air grew colder with each step, heavy with something that made Rowan's skin crawl. Through the bond, she felt Kale's tension rising. How bad is this going to be? She asked. Bad. She doesn't like visitors, especially not... A cackle echoed through the canyon, bouncing off walls until it sounded like a dozen voices laughing at once. Well, well, a voice rasped. Look what crawled back to me. The witch emerged from a cave opening Rowan could have sworn wasn't there a second ago. She was ancient, skin like leather, hair white as bone, eyes that gleamed with something too bright to be sane. But she moved with a predator's grace, circling them like wolves around wounded prey. Brought a mate this time, did you? The witch's gaze fixed on Rowan. Pretty thing. Shame she's already dead. She's not dead, Kale said. Not yet. Give it time. The witch moved closer to Rowan, sniffing. Oh yes. I can smell it on you. The taint. The curse recognizes her. Likes her even. That's dangerous, boy. Very dangerous. Rowan forced herself to stand still. Can you break it? Break it? The witch threw her head back and laughed. Child, you can't break a blood curse. You can only satisfy it. And this one... She grabbed Kale's wrist, yanking his hand up to examine it. This one wants very specific things. What things? Rowan demanded. The witch's smile was all teeth. Love. Real love. The kind that rewrites you from the inside out. The kind that makes you choose each other over power, over pride, over survival itself. She let go of Kale's hand. Tell me, girl, do you love him? I barely know him. That's not an answer. Rowan's jaw tightened. No, I don't love him. Then he dies. Simple as that. The witch turned to Kale. And you? Do you love her? Through the bond, Rowan felt Kale's response before he spoke it. Truth, raw and complicated and terrifying in its honesty. I don't know, he said quietly, but I think I could. The witch's expression shifted. For just a moment, something almost kind flickered in those two bright eyes. Well, that's more than most people get. Is there another way? Rowan pressed. Something we can do besides falling in love. The witch cackled again. No, child, that's the price. That's always been the price. You want to break a curse built on blood and betrayal, you fight it with choice and sacrifice. She moved back toward her cave. But I'll give you this much. The bond you already made is strong, stronger than it should be for two people who claim not to love each other. Feed that. Let it grow. Stop fighting what you feel and maybe you'll have a chance. How long do we have? Kael asked. The witch paused at the cave entrance. You know how long. 55 days until you turn 30. 55 days until the curse decides if you're worthy of breaking it. Her gaze shifted to Rowan. And you, girl, you'd better decide fast if he's worth dying for. Because that's what's coming. A choice between love and survival. And in my experience, most people choose wrong. She disappeared into the cave. Rowan and Kael stood alone in the canyon, the wind howling around them. Well, Rowan said finally, that was helpful. She's insane. Doesn't mean she's wrong. Rowan turned to him. Kael, if what she said is true, if the only way to break this is real love, then we're dead. His voice was flat. Because you can't force love, can't schedule it, can't make it happen just because a curse demands it. No, but you can try. She grabbed his arms. We have 55 days. That's almost 2 months. People have fallen in love in less time. People who weren't bonded under duress with a death curse hanging over their heads. So we'll be the first. She pulled him closer. Kael, I didn't come all this way to give up now. If the witch says the bond is strong, we use that. We stop fighting it and see where it goes. And if it doesn't work, then we die trying, which is better than dying because we were too afraid to even attempt it. Through the bond, she felt him wavering, felt the war between hope and resignation, between wanting to believe and being too damn tired to try. Then something shifted. Okay, he said quietly. We try. Swat. They made it back to Blackwood Crossing with hours to spare. Finn met them at the entrance, looking like he hadn't slept in 3 days. Where the hell have you been? Solving problems. Rowan dismounted, every muscle screaming. Is Marcus still pushing the challenge? Pushing? He's got half the Territorial Council backing him. They're calling for an emergency hearing in an hour. Finn grabbed her shoulders. Rowan, this is bad. Really bad. If they rule against you, they won't. You don't know that. I know I'm not backing down. She brushed past him, heading for their rooms. Get me clean clothes and whatever documents we need. Kael and I will face this together. Kael followed her inside. Through the bond, she felt his exhaustion mirroring her own, felt the curse gnawing at him with renewed hunger. The trip had cost both of them, but they were still standing. You ready for this? She asked. No, you? Not even a little. She caught his hand, squeezing once. But we do it anyway. The hearing room was packed. Every alpha who'd stayed for the gathering, every council member with an opinion, every rival who wanted to see them fail. Marcus stood at the front, flanked by his supporters, looking smug. Rowan and Kael entered together. The room went silent. Well, Marcus said, his voice carrying, the happy couple finally decided to show up. Careful, Greymore. Kael's voice was ice. You're about to make accusations you can't take back. I'm making accusations I can prove. Marcus gestured to the assembled crowd. You pressured Rowan Ashford into a fraudulent bond to save your failing territory. You knew you were dying, knew the curse would spread to anyone bonded with you, and you did it anyway. That's not just coercion. That's attempted murder. Gasps rippled through the room. Rowan felt Kael's rage spike through the bond, felt him preparing to lunge. She stepped forward instead. You're right, she said clearly. The room erupted. Kael's shock hit her through the bond like a physical blow. Rowan raised her hand, waiting for silence. You're right that Kael is cursed. You're right that he's dying. You're right that bonding to him puts me at risk. She let the words settle. But you're wrong about coercion. I chose this bond. Fully informed, fully aware of the consequences. I chose it. You're lying, Marcus spat. No one would. I would. Rowan's voice cut through his. Because unlike you, I understand that sometimes survival means taking risks. Sometimes it means trusting someone who has every reason to fail. She turned to face the assembled council. Kyle Thornridge is dying. I won't deny that. But he's also the strongest alpha I've ever met. Strong enough to keep fighting when everyone said he should quit. Strong enough to honor a bond even knowing it might kill him. That's the kind of mate I want. That's the kind of leader Ashford territory needs. This is insane, someone in the crowd muttered. Maybe. Rowan locked eyes with Marcus. But it's my choice. My bond. My risk. And unless you can prove I was forced against my will, which you can't, you have no grounds to challenge it. Marcus's face went red. The curse is my problem, not yours. She stepped closer. Or is this really about the bond? Because it seems to me this is about you being furious that I chose someone else. Someone who doesn't see me as a stepping stone to more territory. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. The challenge stands, he said finally. Trial by combat. You and Thornridge against me and my champion. Tonight. Winner takes both territories. Horror rippled through the crowd. Trial by combat was archaic, brutal, and legally binding. If Rowan and Cale lost, they'd lose everything. The bond, the lands, their lives. You can't force a combat trial, Finn shouted. Not without... I can if I have majority council support. Marcus's smile was vicious. Which I do. So, Ashford, what's it going to be? Face me in the ring, or dissolve that fraudulent bond and walk away while you still can? Rowan felt Cale's hand on her shoulder. Felt his exhaustion, his pain, his absolute certainty that he couldn't win a fight in his current condition. Felt him preparing to dissolve the bond to save her. She covered his hand with hers. We accept, she said. And through the bond she felt Kael's terror spike, because he knew what she didn't. The curse had just gotten worse. Much worse. The moment they left the hearing room, Kael collapsed. Not dramatically, not all at once. Just his knees buckling like someone had cut the strings holding him upright. Rowan caught him before he hit the floor, her arms wrapping around his chest. And through the bond she felt it. The curse wasn't just worse. It was devouring him. Get him out of sight, Finn hissed, already moving to block the view from the hallway. Now. They half-carried, half-dragged Kael to their rooms. His skin had gone gray, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cold. Rowan kicked the door shut and lowered him onto the bed, her heart hammering so hard she could taste it. Kael, look at me. His eyes opened, but they were unfocused. Glassy. Through the bond, his pain was a living thing, sharp and relentless, like broken glass grinding through his veins. The challenge, he managed. Rowan, we can't fight. I can barely stand. Then I'll fight alone. That's suicide. Marcus's champion is Darius Blackwood. He's killed 3 people in combat trials. Cale grabbed her wrist, his grip weak. Dissolve the bond. Walk away. Save yourself. No. Rowan, I said no. She pressed her hand against his chest, feeling his heartbeat stutter beneath her palm. We made a deal. We try. That's what we agreed. The deal was before I knew accepting the challenge would trigger the curse like this. His voice cracked. I felt it the second you said yes. It's feeding on the conflict, on the violence. The witch was right. It knows when we're lying, when we're faking, and right now it thinks we chose pride over each other. Rowan's stomach dropped. What? The bond. The curse sees it as a test. We're supposed to choose love over survival, remember? But we just chose a deathmatch instead. Cale's laugh was bitter. We played right into it. Then we'll unplay it. She stood, pacing. There has to be a way. Some loophole, There isn't. Finn spoke from the doorway, his expression grim. Trial by combat is binding. Once accepted, you can't back out without forfeiting both territories. And if Kyle can't fight... He didn't finish, didn't have to. Rowan's mind raced. The trial was in 6 hours. Kyle could barely sit up. Even if she fought alone, Darius Blackwood would tear her apart. He outweighed her by at least 80 pounds. and had a reputation for brutality that made grown men flinch. But walking away meant losing everything: Ashford territory, Thornridge lands, the bond, all of it carved up by Marcus and whoever else wanted a piece. "I need to think," she said. "Think fast." Finn glanced at Kyle. "Because he's getting worse." Rowan felt it through the bond, the curse spreading like poison, wrapping around Kyle's heart and squeezing. Every breath was a fight, every heartbeat a battle he was losing. She'd done this. Accepted the challenge without thinking, without considering what it would cost. Too proud to back down, too stubborn to see the trap until it closed around them. Her father's voice echoed in her head. "Pride is a luxury, Rowan. Survival is necessity. Know which one matters more." She'd always chosen pride, always chosen the fight. Maybe it was time to choose something else. "Get me a healer," she told Finn. "Best one you can find. I don't care what it costs." "Rowan, healers can't break curses. I'm not trying to break it. I'm trying to buy time." She knelt beside Kale again, just enough to get him through the fight. Kale's eyes found hers. "What are you planning?" "Something stupid." She managed to smile. "But when has that ever stopped us?" The healer arrived an hour later, a thin woman with sharp eyes and sharper questions. She examined Kyle in silence, her hands moving over his chest, his pulse points, the places where the curse had sunk its claws deepest. "This is old magic," she said finally. "Very old. I can't remove it." "Can you suppress it?" Rowan asked. "Just for a few hours?" The healer's gaze shifted to her. "Suppressing a curse this strong is dangerous. It'll come back worse afterward, much worse." "How much worse?" "It might kill him within days instead of weeks." She pulled a vial from her bag, dark liquid that seemed to absorb light. "This will give him maybe 3 hours of strength, enough to fight. But after that," she shook her head, "after that you'd better hope you have a solution, because he won't survive another dose." Rowan took the vial. The glass was cold against her palm. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." The healer stood. "If he dies because of this, his blood is on your hands." She left. Rowan stared at the vial, feeling its weight like an accusation. Through the bond, she felt Kyle watching her. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "Yes, I do." "Why?" His voice was raw. "We barely know each other, Rowan. This bond, it's political, a convenience. Why are you risking everything for someone you don't even love?" The question hung between them. Rowan turned to face him. His color had improved slightly, but the curse still lurked beneath his skin like shadows under ice. She could see it in the hollows of his cheeks, the strain around his eyes. "You're right," she said. "I don't love you. Not yet. Maybe not ever." She sat on the edge of the bed. "But I respect you. I respect that you've been fighting this curse for 3 years and never once asked for pity. I respect that you walked into that hearing room knowing Marcus would tear you apart, and you stood there anyway." She held up the vial. "And I respect that you're about to drink this and fight beside me, even though you know it might kill you faster." "That's not love." "No, but it's something." She pressed the vial into his hand. "And maybe it's enough." Their eyes met. Through the bond, she felt something shift. Not love, not yet, but recognition, understanding. Two people backed into a corner, choosing to face it together instead of alone. Kyle uncorked the vial. "If we die tonight, we won't. But if we do, I want you to know..." He stopped, searching for words. "I'm glad it was you. Glad I bonded someone who fights like you do." Rowan's throat tightened. "Drink it before I change my mind about this whole plan." He drank. The effect was almost immediate, color returning to his face, his breathing evening out. Through the bond, she felt the curse recoil, pushed back by whatever was in that vial. Not gone. Just waiting. Kale stood, testing his balance. "How do I look?" "Like you're about to pick a fight you can't win." "Perfect. That's what I was going for." He caught her hand. "Thank you. For this. For all of it. Thank me after we survive." The combat ring was set up in the main square, a circle of packed earth surrounded by torches and spectators. Every alpha who'd stayed for the gathering was there, along with dozens of onlookers who'd heard about the challenge and come to watch the spectacle. The crowd pressed close, their faces hungry for violence. Rowan and Kale entered together. Across the ring, Marcus waited with his champion, Darius Blackwood. The man was massive, all muscle and scar tissue, with eyes like dead fish. He cracked his knuckles, grinning. "Last chance to back out," Marcus called. "Dissolve the bond. Walk away. Live to fight another day." "We're good," Rowan called back. An elder stepped into the center of the ring, the same one who'd performed their bonding ritual. Her expression was grave. "This is trial by combat, legally binding. The challenged party fights until surrender, death, or incapacitation. The victor claims all disputed territories and holdings. Do both parties consent?" "We consent," Rowan and Marcus said together. "Then begin." Darius moved first. He came at Rowan like a battering ram, all speed and mass. She dodged left, felt his fist whistle past her ear close enough to stir her hair. He was fast for a big man, faster than she'd expected. She drove her knee into his ribs, might as well have hit stone. He barely grunted. Then his hand clamped around her throat. The world tilted. Rowan clawed at his wrist, feet leaving the ground. Through the bond, she felt Kael's rage spike, felt him moving to intercede. "Stay back," she choked out. But Kael was already there. His fist connected with Darius's jaw, a hit that should have dropped a normal man. Darius just turned, grinning, and threw Rowan aside like discarded trash. She hit the ground hard, ribs screaming, forced herself up in time to see Darius grab Kael by the throat, lifting him the same way he'd lifted her. "Weak," Darius growled. "Cursed. Pathetic." He threw Kael across the ring. The crowd roared, some cheering, some jeering, all of them baying for blood like wolves at a kill. Rowan pushed to her feet, tasting copper. Through the bond, she felt Kael's pain, the curse already fighting against the suppressant, already clawing back to the surface. They had maybe 2 hours left, maybe less. They needed a new strategy. Darius charged again. This time, Rowan didn't dodge. She dropped low, sweeping his legs. He went down like a felled tree, and she was on him instantly. Elbow to the temple, knee to the solar plexus, every dirty trick her father had taught her. Darius caught her arm, twisted. Something popped in her shoulder. Rowan screamed. Kael hit Darius from behind, both hands locked around the bigger man's head. For a second, they stayed frozen, a tableau of violence. Then Darius threw them both off and stood, breathing hard. "That all you got?" he taunted. Rowan's shoulder was on fire. Through the bond, she felt Kael's strength flagging, the curse fighting harder now. The vial had bought them time, but time was running out. She met Kael's eyes across the ring, saw her own desperation reflected there. Then she saw something else, understanding. They'd been fighting separately, two individuals trying to win alone. But they weren't alone. Not anymore. The bond hummed between them, not just a connection, but a bridge. A way to share more than just emotion. Rowan reached through it, pulling Kael's awareness toward her. Together, she thought. Move together. She felt his surprise, then his agreement. Darius charged again. This time, they moved as one. Rowan went low, Kael went high, and they hit Darius from both sides in perfect synchronization. It wasn't planned, wasn't choreographed, just instinct guided by the bond, each of them knowing where the other would be before they moved. Darius stumbled. Actually stumbled. The crowd went quiet. Rowan and Kael circled, still moving in tandem. Through the bond, she felt Kael's thoughts bleeding into hers, not words, just intention. Strike here, defend there, move left, duck right. They attacked again. Faster this time, harder. Every hit coordinated, every dodge timed perfectly. Darius tried to counter, but he was fighting two people who moved like one organism. His fist caught Rowan's ribs. Her kick caught his knee. Kael's elbow found his throat. They didn't stop, didn't slow. Just kept coming, wave after wave. Until Darius's movements grew sluggish, until blood ran from his nose, until he went down on one knee. The crowd erupted. Rowan felt their shock ripple through the air. This wasn't supposed to happen. Darius Blackwood didn't lose, didn't kneel. But he was kneeling now. Marcus's voice cut through the noise. "Get up! Get up, you worthless! Darius tried. His legs wouldn't hold him. The elder stepped forward. Does the champion yield? For a long moment, Darius just stared at the ground. Then, I yield. Silence. Then chaos. The crowd exploded, some cheering, some arguing, everyone talking at once. Rowan felt her legs give out, caught herself on Kyle shoulder. Through the bond, his exhaustion mirrored hers, absolute and total. But they were standing, and Darius wasn't. The elder raised her voice. The challenge is decided. Cale Thornridge and Rowan Ashford are victorious. The bond stands. All disputed claims are void. Marcus's face went purple. This is ridiculous. They cheated. The bond gave them an unfair... The bond is legal, the elder interrupted, and using it in combat is neither forbidden nor unprecedented. Your challenge has failed, Marcus Greymore. Accept the ruling or face sanction. For a moment, Rowan thought Marcus might actually attack them himself. His hands curled into fists, his whole body vibrating with rage. Then he spun and stormed out, his supporters trailing behind like kicked dogs. The crowd slowly dispersed, still muttering. Rowan felt Finn's hands on her shoulders, heard him saying something about healers and rest, but the words seemed to come from very far away. Through the bond, she felt Kyle fading. The vial's effect was wearing off, and the curse was coming back with a vengeance. We need to move, she said. Now! They made it back to their rooms before Kyle collapsed again. This time, there was no catching him. He went down hard, convulsing, blood trickling from his nose. Rowan knelt beside him, pressing her hands against his chest. Through the bond, she felt the curse spreading, faster now, angrier, punishing him for the suppression, for the fight, for daring to push back. No, she whispered. No, you don't get to quit now, not after we just won. Cale's eyes opened, barely. Rowan, save it. Whatever speech you're planning about me moving on or finding someone else or any of that garbage, save it. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. You're going to survive this. We're going to break this curse. And then we're going to go back to our territories and figure out what the hell we're doing with this bond. You understand me? It's too late. It's not. She pulled him closer until their foreheads touched. The witch said we need real love, real choice, real sacrifice. Well, I'm choosing you right now, not because of politics or convenience or desperation, because you fought beside me tonight like you trusted me with your life, because you're stubborn and infuriating and you don't know how to quit even when you should, because... She stopped. The words stuck in her throat, too big and too terrifying to say out loud. But Kyle heard them anyway. Through the bond, he felt what she couldn't voice. His hand came up, cupping her cheek. Rowan, I'm not saying I love you, she said quickly. I'm not there yet, but I'm choosing you anyway. I'm choosing this, whatever it costs. Through the bond, she felt his answer, felt it settle into her bones like truth. He was choosing her too. The curse shrieked, actually shrieked, a sound that came from nowhere and everywhere, rattling the windows and making the flames in the fireplace dance. Through the bond, Rowan felt it trying to tighten its grip, trying to strangle whatever connection they'd just forged, but the bond pushed back. It wasn't enough to break the curse, not yet, but it was enough to slow it, to give Kyle room to breathe. His convulsions stopped. The blood flow slowed. Through the bond, she felt his pain recede to something manageable. What did you do? He whispered. I have no idea. Rowan sat back, her whole body shaking. But it worked, for now. Cale pushed himself upright, leaning against the bed. The witch said love and sacrifice. We just gave it half of that. Then we'll figure out the rest. She helped him onto the mattress properly. But first you're going to sleep, and I'm going to make sure no one tries to kill us while you do. Rowan, sleep, Cale. We'll fight the curse tomorrow. He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded, too exhausted to argue. Within minutes, he was out. Rowan sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall, feeling his heartbeat through the bond. Steady now, stronger than it had been in days. Not saved, not yet, but not dying either. A knock on the door made her jump. She opened it to find Senna standing there, Kyle's sister looking like she'd aged a decade in the last few hours. Is he? Senna's voice broke. He's alive. Resting. Rowan stepped aside, letting her in. Senna moved to her brother's bedside, pressing a hand to his forehead. I felt it. During the fight. Something changed in him. I thought... She turned to Rowan. What did you do? I chose him. The words came easier this time. The curse responds to choice, to love. We're not there yet, but we're close enough that it noticed. Close enough. Senna's laugh was shaky. My brother's dying is being held off by close enough. It's more than we had this morning. Fair point. Senna sat in the chair by the bed, her shoulders sagging. Thank you for fighting for him, for not giving up when everyone else said you should. Rowan started to respond, then stopped. Through the bond, something had shifted. Not Kyle's condition, that was stable. This was external, a presence she recognized. She crossed to the window. In the square below, torches still burned, and standing in their light, staring up at their window, was the witch. Their eyes met across the distance. The witch smiled, raised one gnarled hand in something that might have been a salute or a warning. Then she vanished. Rowan's breath caught. We need to go back to the eastern wastes. What? Why? Senna stood. Because the witch is here. In Blackwood Crossing. She never leaves the wastes. Rowan turned from the window. If she came all this way, it's because something's about to happen. Something we need to be ready for. Through the bond, Kael stirred. Not waking, but responding to her agitation. Rowan pressed her hand against the glass, watching the empty square. They'd won the battle tonight. Survived the challenge. Pushed the curse back. But she had a feeling the real fight was just beginning. And this time, winning might require more than she was ready to give. Kael woke to find Rowan packing. Not carefully, not methodically, just throwing supplies into saddlebags like the room was on fire, and they had seconds to escape. What are you doing? His voice came out rough, throat raw from the fight. Getting ready. She didn't look up. The witch is here, in Blackwood Crossing. That means something's changed. Or she just wanted to watch the fight. She doesn't leave the wastes, ever. Rowan finally met his eyes. If she came all this way, we need to know why. Through the bond, Kael felt her certainty, absolute and unshakable. Also her fear, buried deeper but just as real. She was terrified of what the witch might say. He sat up, testing his body. The curse had receded after their conversation last night, but it was still there. Still waiting. He had maybe 3 weeks left before his 30th birthday. 3 weeks to figure out how to break something that had been killing him for 3 years. We can't just leave, he said. The council can wait. She tossed a canteen at him. We won the challenge. Both our territories are secure. That buys us time. Time for what? To finish this. She crossed to him, gripping his shoulders. Kael, listen to me. Last night, when I chose you, when we pushed back against the curse, something shifted. I felt it. You felt it. The witch felt it too. That's why she's here. You don't know that. I know she doesn't do anything without a reason. Rowan's fingers tightened. And I know if we don't take this chance, we might not get another one. Through the bond, he felt her desperation. Felt how much last night had cost her, not physically, but emotionally. She'd laid herself bare, admitted things she wasn't ready to admit, and the curse had responded. Not enough to break it, but enough to prove the witch was right. Love was the answer. Real, terrifying, inconvenient love. And they were running out of time to find it. Fine, Kael said, but we do this smart. No rushing in blind. We find the witch, we get answers, and we come back with a plan. Deal. Rowan's relief bled through the bond. Can you ride? He stood, ignoring the weakness in his legs. I can ride. They left within the hour. Senna tried to stop them, argued that Kael was in no condition to travel, that they'd just survived an assassination attempt disguised as a trial and should be consolidating power, not running off into the wilderness. Rowan shut her down with 5 words. This is the only way. And somehow, Senna believed her. They rode hard, retracing the path to the eastern wastes. The landscape shifted from forest to scrubland to the dead, burned earth that surrounded the witch's territory. Through the bond, Rowan felt Kale struggling, not with the curse this time, but with doubt. "You're thinking too loud," she said. "Can't help it. You're in my head now. So stop spiraling and talk to me." Kale was quiet for a long moment. Then, "What if we're wrong? What if last night was just, I don't know, adrenaline, survival instinct? What if it wasn't real?" Rowan's chest tightened. "Are you saying you didn't mean it?" "I'm saying I don't know what I meant." His hands clenched on the reins. "Rowan, I've been dying for 3 years. Every relationship I tried to build, every connection I made, I knew it had an expiration date, so I stopped trying, stopped letting people in. And now you're asking me to do the exact opposite, and I don't—" He stopped. "I don't know if I remember how." Through the bond, she felt his truth. The loneliness, the walls he'd built so high even he couldn't see over them anymore. "Then we'll figure it out together," she said quietly. "You think I'm any better at this? I've spent 11 years proving I don't need anyone, that I can hold my territory alone, fight my battles alone, survive alone. And now I'm bonded to someone who feels like—" She stopped. "Like what?" Rowan met his eyes. "Like home, which is terrifying because I've never had that before. Never wanted it, but there it is." Kael's expression softened. Through the bond, she felt something warm unfurl in his chest. Not love, not yet, but the beginning of it. The seed that might grow if they gave it time. "We're a mess," he said. "Yeah, we are. But we're trying. Yeah." She managed a smile. "We are." They reached the canyon system by nightfall. The witch's marks were everywhere now, carved into stone, scratched into the dirt, painted on rocks, in something that looked disturbingly like blood. The air felt heavier here, thick with old magic and older warnings. "She knows we're coming," Kael said. "She always knows." Rowan dismounted, scanning the shadows. "Witch, we need to talk!" Her voice echoed off the canyon walls. For a moment, nothing. Then a cackle, sharp and too close. "Talk, talk, talk!" The witch's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "That's all you children do? Talk and fight and bleed and never learn." She materialized from the shadows, still ancient, still unsettling, but something in her eyes had changed, something almost approving. "You came back?" the witch said. "Good. Means you're not complete idiots." "You came to Blackwood Crossing," Rowan countered. "Why?" "To see if you'd survive. To see if the bond would hold." The witch circled them like a predator. And it did. Barely. But it did. "The curse retreated," Kael said. After I chose her, why?" "Because the curse feeds on lies and breaks on truth." The witch stopped in front of him. "You spent 3 years lying to everyone, your council, your people, yourself, pretending you were fine, pretending you didn't need anyone. And the curse loved it, grew fat on your isolation." She turned to Rowan. "And you. So determined to prove you're strong enough alone, so afraid of being seen as weak that you pushed away anyone who might actually help. The curse saw that too, recognized a kindred spirit. So bonding us was what? Some kind of test?" Rowan's hands curled into fists. "Not a test, a chance." The witch's expression shifted. "The curse was placed on Kael's bloodline 6 generations ago. Punishment for betrayal, for choosing power over love. Every firstborn carries it. Most die before 30. A few find their true mate and break it, but most?" She shook her head. "Most die alone, convinced they don't deserve saving." Kael's face went pale. "My father found your mother when he was 22. Real love, real choice, broke the curse clean." The witch's smile was sharp. "You were supposed to do the same. Instead, you spent years pushing everyone away, and the curse got stronger. By the time you bonded Rowan, it was so deep in your bones I wasn't sure even a true mate could break it." "But we pushed it back," Rowan said. "Last night, we chose each other and it retreated." "You slowed it. Different thing entirely." The witch began drawing in the dirt, That same spiral pattern KL remembered from their first meeting. The curse has stages. First, it weakens you. Second, it isolates you. Third, it kills you. You're in stage 3, boy. Have been for weeks. That vial your healer gave you bought you hours, not days. You're on borrowed time. Through the bond, Rowan felt Kael's despair spike, felt him preparing to give up, to accept the inevitable. She grabbed his hand, hard enough to hurt. How do we break it? All the way. Completely. The witch studied them. You already know, I told you the first time. Real love, real sacrifice. Rowan's voice went hard. But we're not there yet. We barely know each other. How are we supposed to? Love isn't about time, girl. It's about choice. The witch tapped the spiral pattern. Every moment you choose. Choose honesty over lies. Choose connection over isolation. Choose each other over everything else. Do that enough times, mean it enough times, and the curse breaks. Simple as that. Nothing about this is simple, Kael said. No, but it's straightforward. The witch straightened. You've got 2 weeks before your birthday. 2 weeks to decide if you're willing to choose each other over your pride, your fear, your certainty that you're better off alone. Do that, and you live. Don't, and you die. End of story. That's it? Rowan's voice rose. That's your advice? Just choose each other? What else is there? The witch cocked her head. You want a ritual? A spell? Some magic words that'll fix everything without you having to do the hard work? Her laugh was bitter. Love doesn't work like that, child. It's messy and terrifying, and it requires you to be vulnerable with someone who could destroy you. That's the sacrifice. Not your life, your walls. She started walking back toward her cave. 2 weeks. After that, the curse takes him whether you love him or not. So I suggest you figure it out fast. Wait! Kael stepped forward. My father broke the curse. How long did it take him? The witch paused, smiled. 3 days. Met your mother at a gathering, bonded her that night, told her he loved her 2 days later. Curse broke on the 3rd day like glass under a hammer. 3 days, Kael repeated. And you're giving us 2 weeks? Your father didn't spend 3 years building walls, boy. He was open from the start. You? The witch's eyes gleamed. You're going to have to work for it. She vanished into the shadows. Rowan and Kael stood alone in the canyon, the silence pressing down like a physical weight. 3 days, Kael said finally. My parents fell in love in 3 days. Your parents weren't us. Rowan squeezed his hand. But we've got 2 weeks. That's something. Is it? He turned to face her. Rowan, be honest. Do you think we can do this? Actually fall in love in 2 weeks when we've spent most of our lives avoiding exactly that? She wanted to say yes. Wanted to be confident, certain, the alpha who never doubted. But the bond wouldn't let her lie. I don't know, she admitted. But I know I'm willing to try. Are you? Through the bond, she felt him struggling, felt the fear warring with hope, the instinct to protect himself battling against the desperate need to survive. Then something shifted, settled. Yeah, he said quietly. I'm willing to try. They made camp in the canyon that night, unwilling to ride back in the dark. Rowan built a small fire while Kael tended the horses, and for a while they just sat in comfortable silence, watching flames dance against stone. Tell me about your father, Rowan said eventually. Kael glanced at her. Why? Because he broke the curse. Because he fell in love in 3 days. I want to understand how. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, he was fearless. Not in the stupid way. He wasn't reckless. But he didn't hesitate when it mattered. My mother said he walked up to her at a gathering, looked her in the eye, and said, I'm going to marry you. She thought he was insane. Was he? Probably, but he meant it. Kael's smile was sad. 3 days later, they bonded. He told her about the curse that same night. Laid it all out, the dying, the deadline, the desperation. And she said, I choose you anyway. Broke the curse on the spot. Rowan absorbed that. So it's not about time, it's about honesty. That's what the witch said. Kael turned to her. But Rowan, I've been lying for so long, I'm not sure I know how to stop. Every conversation, every interaction, there's always something I'm hiding, something I'm protecting. How do I just turn that off? You practice. She shifted closer. Start now. Tell me something true, something you've never told anyone. His jaw worked. Through the bond, she felt his resistance. Years of self-protection screaming at him to deflect, to joke, to hide. But then he spoke. I'm terrified of dying alone, he said quietly. Not the dying part. I made peace with that 2 years ago. But the thought of going out with no one beside me, no one who actually knows me, that's what keeps me up at night. That's what the curse feeds on. Rowan's throat tightened. You're not alone now. No, but what if... He stopped, started again. What if this doesn't work? What if we try everything and it's still not enough? What if I die and you're stuck with guilt for the rest of your life because you couldn't save me? Then I live with it. She caught his face, making him look at her. Kael, I can't promise this will work. Can't promise we'll fall in love in time. But I can promise you won't die alone. Whatever happens, I'll be there. You understand me? Through the bond, she felt his walls cracking, felt the grief and fear and desperate hope bleeding through. I don't deserve that, he whispered. Probably not, but you're getting it anyway. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. Now tell me something else, something you want, not what you think you should want, what you actually want. I want to wake up 10 years from now with you beside me, he said without hesitation. I want to watch you terrorize our joint council meetings and argue with me about border policy and laugh at terrible jokes I make at diplomatic dinners. I want... His voice cracked. I want forever, Rowan. I want time we don't have. Tears burned her eyes. Through the bond, she felt his longing, absolute and devastating and real. Then we'll make time, she said. We'll break this curse and take every single day we're owed. You make it sound simple. It is simple. Not easy, but simple. She kissed him, gentle and brief and full of promise. We choose each other, every day, every moment, until the curse has no choice but to break. His hand came up, fingers threading through her hair. I'm choosing you right now. Good, because I'm choosing you too. They kissed again, deeper this time. The bond sang between them, warmth spreading through Rowan's chest like sunrise. This wasn't the desperate heat of survival. This was something else, something that felt like the beginning of love. When they finally pulled apart, Kael's expression had shifted. The fear was still there, but it was tempered now, balanced by hope. 2 weeks, he said. 2 weeks, she agreed. They fell asleep pressed together, the bond humming contentedly between them. And for the first time in 3 years, the curse went quiet. They spent the next 10 days learning each other, not the political version, not the careful masks they showed the world, the real versions, the messy, complicated, broken people beneath. Rowan told him about her father's death, how she'd found him bleeding out on the border, how his last words were, "Don't let them take this from you," how she'd carried that command like a chain for 11 years, terrified that one moment of weakness would prove she didn't deserve what he'd left her. Kael told her about the first time the curse hit him, how he'd collapsed during a council meeting, woke up in the healer's quarters with no explanation, spent weeks convinced he was going crazy, how the isolation had started then, the walls going up brick by brick until he couldn't remember what it felt like to let someone in. They told each other everything, the fears, the failures, the moments of shame they'd buried so deep they'd almost forgotten them. And with each confession, the bond grew stronger. The curse grew weaker, but not weak enough. 5 days before Kael's birthday, the curse struck back. He collapsed in the middle of dinner, convulsing on the floor while Rowan screamed for help. Blood poured from his nose, his ears. Through the bond, she felt the curse tightening its grip, punishing him for fighting back, for daring to hope. The healer came, gave him something to stabilize him. But when she pulled Rowan aside, her expression was grim. 4 days, she said quietly. Maybe 5. After that, there's nothing I can do. Rowan nodded, numb. When she returned to their room, Kael was awake, sitting up, looking at her with eyes that had gone too old too fast. It's not going to work, he said. Don't. Rowan, be realistic. We've been trying for 10 days. The curse is stronger than ever. Whatever we're doing, it's not enough. Because we're still holding back. She sat beside him. The witch said it requires sacrifice, vulnerability. We've been honest, yeah. But we haven't been vulnerable. Not really.
What else do you want from me? His voice rose. I've told you everything, given you everything. What more is there? You haven't told me you love me. The words dropped between them like stones. Cale's face went blank. What? You heard me. Rowan forced herself to hold his gaze. We've said everything else, talked about fear, about hope, about wanting forever. But neither of us has actually said the words. And I think that's what the curse is waiting for. You want me to lie? I want you to tell the truth. Her voice shook. Kael, I know we've only had 2 weeks. I know this whole thing started as a political arrangement, but somewhere along the way it stopped being fake. And I need to know, do you love me? Through the bond, she felt his panic, felt him scrambling for an answer that wouldn't hurt either of them. I don't know, he said finally. I care about you, want you, choose you. But love, Rowan, I don't know if I know what that feels like anymore. She nodded, swallowing hard. Then I'll go first. Rowan, I love you. The words came out rough, terrified, but absolutely certain. I love that you fight even when you're dying. I love that you made me laugh in the middle of a death curse. I love that you see me, not the alpha, not the territory, just me, and you choose that person anyway. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love you, Kael Thornridge, and I don't care if you can't say it back yet. I'm saying it anyway. Through the bond, she felt him shatter, felt every wall he'd built come crashing down at once. His voice broke. Rowan, the curse screamed. Actually screamed. A sound like metal tearing, like the world ending. Kael convulsed again, worse this time. The bond lit up with agony, so intense Rowan couldn't breathe. She grabbed him, pulling him close. Stay with me, Kael, stay with me. Can't. He choked on blood. Rowan, I can't. Yes, you can. You hear me? You can. She pressed her hand against his heart, feeling it stutter beneath her palm. I love you. I choose you, and you don't get to leave me. Not now, not ever. Through the bond, she poured everything into him, every ounce of love, of certainty, of absolute refusal to let him go. The curse fought back, trying to strangle the connection, trying to sever what they'd built. But Rowan held on, and somewhere in the chaos she felt Kael's response, faint, flickering. But there. He loved her too. He couldn't say it, could barely think it. But the truth was there, bleeding through the bond like light through cracks. The curse felt it, and for the first time in 3 years, it faltered. The convulsions stopped. Kael's breathing evened out. Through the bond, Rowan felt the curse retreating, not gone, not yet, but weakened, confused, like it had expected one outcome and gotten another. Rowan? Kael's voice was barely a whisper. I'm here. I felt, did you? Yeah. She smiled through tears. I felt it too. He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I'm sorry I can't say it yet. I want to, but the words won't come. That's okay. She held him tighter. You'll say them when you're ready. They stayed like that until dawn, the bond wrapped around them like armor. 3 days left. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation. Word had spread. Kael Thornridge's birthday was in 48 hours. If the curse didn't break by then, he'd die at midnight. Both their councils descended on Blackwood Crossing, demanding answers, demanding solutions, demanding someone to blame. Rowan ignored all of them, focused only on Kael, on the bond, on keeping him alive long enough to break what was killing him. The night before his birthday, they stood alone in their room. Outside, a storm raged, lightning splitting the sky, thunder rattling the windows. Inside, the curse waited. Tomorrow, Kael said. One way or another, this ends tomorrow. It ends with us alive.
Rowan gripped his hands. I don't care what the curse thinks. I don't care about timing or sacrifice or any of it. You're going to survive this. And if I don't, then I'll drag you back from whatever comes after and kill you myself for giving up. She pulled him close. But you're not giving up. You're going to fight. And I'm going to fight beside you. And we're going to win. Through the bond, she felt his love. Still unspoken, but stronger now, real enough to touch. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. Tell me tomorrow, after we win. No, now, in case there isn't a tomorrow. He cupped her face. Rowan Ashford, you are the most stubborn, infuriating, brilliant person I've ever met. You make me want to fight when I'm too tired to stand. You make me believe in things I thought were fairy tales. You make me... His voice cracked. You make me want to live. Really live. Not just survive, but actually build something worth keeping. And The word stuck. Rowan waited, heart hammering. I love you, Kael said. I love you so much it terrifies me. And I'm sorry it took me this long to say it. The bond exploded. Not painfully, not like the curse's attacks. This was pure light, pure warmth, pure connection. Rowan felt it pouring through her, felt Kael's love mixing with hers until she couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. And the curse shattered. Literally shattered. She heard it break, felt it fracture into 1,000 pieces and dissolve like smoke. Through the bond, Kael gasped, his whole body going rigid. Then he laughed. Actually laughed, wild and disbelieving and free. It's gone, he said. Rowan, it's gone. She felt it too. The weight that had pressed on him for 3 years, the shadow that had been slowly killing him, vanished. Just gone, like it had never existed. You did it, she whispered. We did it. Kael pulled her into a kiss that tasted like triumph and tears and forever. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, wrapped in each other's arms, they were untouchable. The curse was broken, and they had won. The next morning, Kael Thornridge turned 30. The sun rose on Blackwood Crossing to find 2 alphas standing before their assembled councils, alive, bonded, and absolutely done with anyone's nonsense. The curse is broken, Kael announced. The bond stands. And if anyone has a problem with that, you're welcome to take it up with my mate. Rowan grinned. Please do. I could use the entertainment. No one took them up on it. The councils dispersed, the rivals slunk away. Marcus Graymore tried to lodge one final protest and got laughed out of the room. By midday, it was over. The political mess, the threats, the challenges, all of it dissolved in the face of something no one could argue with, a true mate bond, sealed in love and tested by fire. Rowan and Kael left Blackwood Crossing that afternoon, rode back toward their territories, not to separate them, but to merge them. 2 lands, 2 packs, 1 leadership. What do we call it? Kael asked as they crested the hill overlooking Thornridge lands. Call what? The combined territory. Thornridge Ashford sounds clunky. Ashford Thornridge sounds like a law firm. Rowan laughed. How about we just call it home? Through the bond, she felt his smile. Home works. They rode on together, the frontier spreading out before them like a promise. Behind them, the old rules, the old expectations, the old certainty that strength came from isolation and power came from standing alone. Ahead, something new, something they'd built together through stubbornness and sacrifice and the kind of love that rewrote curses. The frontier hadn't broken them. They'd broken it. And in its place, they built something stronger, a bond forged in blood and choice, tested by death and sealed by love. Not perfect, not easy, but absolutely, undeniably real. And that, Rowan thought, as Kael's hand found hers, was worth more than any territory, any title, any law the old world could devise. They'd rewritten the rules, and they were just getting started.